Once a rising player, Iroan fought to protect humanity until his closest allies stabbed him in the back. Cast into a living hell, broken and forgotten, he had nothing left, until fate offered him a choice. Our story begins at the end of the world consumed by monsters. One day, a portal between realms tore open, unleashing countless terrifying creatures onto Earth. Humanity stood on the brink of annihilation, powerless against the invasion. But just as all hope seemed lost, another world connected to the portal, a realm of knights and magic known as Einhart. The warriors of Einhart fought back fiercely, wielding incredible strength and mystical abilities. Alongside them came the legendary Murim, martial artists who mastered powerful energy techniques. Yet they were not the only ones to emerge. From the depths of darkness came Gehenna, a land of demons, its very name evoking the horrors of hell. Amidst the chaos, humanity suffered, their once great civilization reduced to ruins. But from the ashes, a few individuals awakened extraordinary abilities. They learned to harness a mysterious system, granting them powers beyond imagination. These warriors rose to fight back, protecting the weak and defying fate itself. They became known as players. The other realms did not see the players as allies. This became clear when Murim fighters, known for their unmatched martial arts, clashed with players. They saw them as troublemakers, demanding they stay away, even when players were saving lives. But the players refused to back down, earning the gratitude of the people they protected. One player stepped forward, warning the crowd to avoid the portal. It was too dangerous. And among these brave warriors was our protagonist, Irun. Unlike others, he was growing frustrated with the Murim fighters, who always caused him trouble. His friend explained that Murim intruders had little regard for humans. This was nothing new. He also pointed out that the Murim fighter they had encountered was no ordinary warrior. His Dantian and Mana circle marked him as high-ranking. A loud and powerful roar suddenly shook the air. A terrifying creature with 3 heads attacked a car, while the passengers inside screamed for help. Without wasting a second, Irun activated his abilities, summoning a screen to analyze the situation. The creature was of medium rank, but someone inside the car was in critical danger and needed to be rescued immediately. Irun turned to the onlookers and shouted, "Why are you all just standing there? Take it down now!" But no one moved. Seeing no other choice, he rushed in himself. His companion called out, "Irun, stop!" reminding him that creatures of this level were the responsibility of a powerful guild. But Irun ignored the warning. He suspected that the guild was struggling and couldn't stand by while innocent lives were at risk. Without slowing down, he pulled out a massive weapon and hurled it at the creature, striking one of its heads with great force. Members of the guild criticized him for interfering, but he paid no attention. Activating his unique skill, State Control, Irun scanned the battlefield. This ability allowed him to see the hidden strengths and weaknesses of everyone around him. Using his full power, he launched an attack on the creature, determined to defeat it, but it was much stronger than he had expected. His energy was draining fast. Realizing he couldn't win alone, Irun called out to his companion, "Help me take its head, now!" His companion charged forward, unleashing a powerful technique. The attack landed perfectly, and for a brief moment Irun felt relieved. A smile appeared on his face. This was someone he had always trusted. But in the very next moment, everything changed. As Irun turned, a sudden sharp pain shot through his back. His companion had struck him, the attack hitting deep. The betrayal was swift and ruthless. The guild members laughed, watching everything unfold. It had all been a trap from the beginning. Even though he was injured and growing weaker, Irun refused to give up. Using the last of his strength, he managed to escape, pushing through the unbearable pain as his former allies chased him through the city. He finally reached his home, the one place he believed to be safe. Desperate, he turned to his beloved and told her they had to leave immediately. But his heart sank when he saw her standing frozen, tears running down her face. Behind her, 2 guild members stepped forward, waiting. Another betrayal. Everyone he had trusted had turned against him. Darkness surrounded him. When Irun opened his eyes, he found himself lying in the mud, weak and injured. A heavy boot pressed against his back, pinning him down. A voice above spoke coldly, reminding him how far he had fallen from his once great position. He had been taken to Mujaeg-yong, a place where only the defeated were sent. It was a land of struggle and hardship. For 5 years, he endured extreme challenges. He faced hunger, pain and suffering, treated as if he no longer belonged in the world. Yet through it all, he refused to give up. Determined, he tried to activate his status display, but it remained unresponsive. Then, something unexpected happened. The screen flickered, its image unclear and broken. Slowly, the message became readable. You have been chosen as the vessel of chaos. A warning appeared, stating that accepting this power would change his destiny forever. Iroh read the words and let out a quiet, bitter laugh. Change? He no longer cared what happened next. If this power could help him survive, he was ready to accept it. Without hesitation, he agreed. A strange force coursed through his body, altering him from the inside out. The world around him blurred into darkness. When he opened his eyes again, he was no longer in Mujaeg-yong. He now stood in a vast, unknown space, surrounded by an unfamiliar and powerful energy. The weight of past struggles still lingered in his mind. Then voices echoed around him. Unseen figures questioned whether he was truly the chosen vessel of chaos. A realization struck him. He had arrived in the legendary realm of Gehenna, a place unlike anything he had known before. Before him, 3 powerful figures stood watching him in silence. Iroh realizes that these figures are actually legendary heroes from the forgotten past of the 3 realms, now lost in history. The first is the Silver King, King Mu Wang, who conquered an entire continent using only his fists. The second is the King of Einheart, also known as the Sword King, who once split the sky with his sword. The third is the Queen of Gehenna, also called the Demon Queen, who killed gods and shattered divinity. These 3 powerful rulers stand before Iroh in a mystical realm, revealing that they are trapped in the realm of chaos. The Sword King looks at Iroh and asks about his condition, wondering if he is truly the chosen vessel of chaos. King Mu Wang questions why Iroh avoids looking at them. The Demon Queen remarks that it is understandable since he was forced to come here. However, Iroh ignores them, focusing instead on the screen that appears before him once more. The screen tells him that if he survives this place, he will become the vessel of chaos. Another warning appears, stating that the fate of the world depends on the chaos he will unleash. At that moment, Iroh thinks about those who betrayed him. He sees this as his chance for revenge against those who wronged him, while they continue to live happily. The 3 kings observe him carefully. The Demon Queen comments that he is still young. King Mu Wang adds that his behavior toward them is disrespectful, and the Sword King agrees. The Sword King then asks Iroh if he really believes revenge will bring him peace, reminding him that as the chosen vessel of chaos, his task will be easy. He explains that the world started collapsing the moment Iroh entered this place. Iroh finally responds, saying that now that he understands his role, he feels relieved. He truly wants the complete destruction of the world. The Sword King warns him that his revenge will not be his own, but rather the result of the chaos he will unleash. King Mu Wang adds that this also means his body and mind will no longer belong to him. In the end, all he will receive is a message informing him of the world's end. Iroh remains silent, which makes the Demon Queen ask if this kind of revenge will truly satisfy him. He wonders what she expects him to do. The Demon Queen smirks wickedly and says he should take revenge with his own hands. The Sword King and King Mu Wang seem to agree with her. She explains that he should kill his enemies himself, tearing them apart to truly experience the feeling of vengeance. Iroh looks at them, filled with sorrow and despair, and asks how he can do any of that in his current state. He has lost all his abilities as a player and is now nothing more than a slave. The Sword King seems surprised and asks if Iroh truly does not know who they are. He hints that Iroh could inherit all their abilities. King Mu Wang adds that if Iroh can also control the chaos within him, he will gain even more power. The Demon Queen then questions if revenge would still seem difficult in that case. She states that if he thinks carefully, he could even become the ruler of the entire world. The three kings offer to help him, promising that he will inherit all their powers. Hearing this, Iron begins to wonder about their true motive in making him their disciple. However, he soon realizes that it doesn't matter anymore. The only thing that matters now is fulfilling his personal goal, avenging those who betrayed him. With that decision, he accepts their offer. He looks at them and asks if he may call them his masters. The Demon Queen is thrilled by his acceptance. The Sword King is surprised at how quickly Iron made his decision, but King Mu Wang simply remarks that everything is now as it should be. From that moment, Iron becomes the disciple of the three kings. He begins intense training under their guidance. As time passes, Iron notes that both time and death seem frozen in that world. After undergoing harsh and grueling training, he finally learns to control the chaos within himself. Then suddenly, he finds himself back in the exact moment when he first chose to become the vessel of chaos. The same man is pressing his foot on Iron's back, mocking him for lying in this filthy place. Iron realizes that time had been frozen at that moment before his journey to the realm of chaos. Everything that happened there had not yet taken place in the real world. At that instant, Iron uses his new strength to grab the man's foot and easily throw him aside. As he strikes his enemy, he tries to summon the status display, but it does not appear. Iron is not surprised and comments that he had anticipated this outcome. He looks at his hands and notices that his body is still in the same weakened state. Even though he has gained new powers, he has lost all his abilities as a player, and on the surface, nothing seems to have changed. Iran thinks that, if not for the teachings of his master's teacher, he might have believed that everything he experienced, including the 100 years of training, was just a dream. He remembers when King Mayang told him that after returning to his world, he would lose all the powers he inherited from them in their realm. At that time, Iran was shocked and asked why. The Demon Queen explained that his powers would be too great for his world to handle, making them uncontrollable. Additionally, the chaos within him would make it even harder to control such immense power. When King Mu Wang saw that Iron still didn't understand, he explained further. Iron needed to rebuild his body from scratch in a way that would allow him to endure and control his new strength. As Iron remembers his master's words, the man he struck earlier gets up and threatens him for what he did. But as the man attacks, he is shocked to see Iron effortlessly blocking his powerful strike. He cannot believe how strong Iron has become. Iron narrates that this man is Cheol, his supervisor, who tormented him for the past 5 years. Despite being only a 5th-level fighter, Cheol had absolute control over him. But now, after rebuilding his body, Iron declares that he will never lose to Cheol again. He remembers a lesson from King Mu Wang, who once said that even a simple villager could defeat a weak warrior if they mastered the intent to fight. He explained that the intent to fight is just a mental force that one can learn to control. Recalling these words, Iron gives Cheol a piercing glare and stands his ground. As Cheol moves forward, Iron swiftly counters and overpowers him with precision and skill. Cheol falls to the ground, unable to comprehend what just happened. The crowd around them, drawn by the commotion, watches in disbelief and awe at Iron's transformation. Iron stands still, thinking that reckless violence only leads to more resistance. However, he realizes that fear is a much stronger force, one that buries itself deep inside a person's mind. This ensures that anyone who sees him will always feel overwhelming and paralyzing fear. He decides that he must escape immediately, before the Volcano Guild members find out what has happened. As he tries to break the chains binding him, a man nearby steps forward and questions where he is going. But Iron ignores him completely, silently snapping the chains with ease, before taking off running. He quickly reaches the edge of the pit, where monster corpses are thrown away, a place filled with toxic gases and decaying remains. Without any hesitation, Iron leaps into the pit, even though not even the overseers dare to go near it. The onlookers watch in shock. unable to believe what they have just seen. With great effort, Iron reaches the bottom of the pit, where a pool of monster corpses and blood awaits him. He declares that this is the perfect place to train in the demon blood technique. He remembers King Mu-Wang's teachings about martial arts and secret techniques, mentioning the divine volcano technique as an example. However, he states that the demon blood technique is at least 5 times more powerful. This technique is the strongest form of martial arts, built on a simple yet dangerous foundation, absorbing energy from others and turning it into his own strength. The core principle of this technique revolves around blood, acting as a dark and mysterious power that draws life energy from the blood to increase internal strength. But this technique has one critical condition. Iron recalls King Mu-Wang's words, where he explained that Iron must have a dantian inside his body. This dantian serves as the source of power for warriors in the Silver World, similar to a magical core for players. King Mu-Young also told Iron that since he doesn't belong to the Silver World, creating a dantian would normally be impossible for him. However, he also revealed another way. No matter how many times he died, whether tens or even hundreds of times, he had to keep trying until he succeeded. This is the real reason Iron descended into the pit of corpses and toxic gases, to use a transformation method invented by the 3 kings over 3,000 years ago. After countless attempts and repeated near-death experiences, just like the 3 kings before him, Iron finally succeeds in creating a dantian within his body. Once the process is complete, he can remember every step of the transformation with perfect clarity. The first step in Iron's transformation was absorbing the blood around him to create energy circles. The second step was forming a dantian within his body, which allowed him to activate the demon blood absorption technique. Iron realized that the pain he endured during this process was unlike any pain he had ever felt before. He also understood the real reason why no one was allowed in the monster corpse disposal area. It wasn't just because of the toxic gases from the rotting bodies, but also due to the monstrous creatures that were formed from the death energy surrounding the corpses. These creatures were essentially undead beings. Many types of undead monsters roamed this area, including zombie goblins that attacked him. However, after his transformation and gaining new abilities, he was able to defeat them. Iron observed that each undead monster had a deadly poison in their attacks, and the only way to kill them was by decapitating them. He knew that in his previous body he would have been an easy target for these creatures, but now he saw them as pitiful beings. With his newfound strength, Iron was able to sever their heads with his bare hands without needing any weapons. For the first time, Iron felt truly alive. He realized that this world was called the Crimson Blood Realm, a place where he could absorb the blood of his enemies and turn it into his own energy. As he continued his battles, he discovered another unique effect of the Crimson Blood. The leftover blood from his fights merged with his own energy, forming solid metal spheres. These spheres could be used as weapons against monsters. Iron began collecting these metal spheres and throwing them at his enemies. He declared that he would devour them all and leave no trace behind. After launching the spheres, he attacked swiftly and with precision, crushing the monsters' heads with ease. He then gathered the newly formed metal spheres to reuse them, allowing him to slay large numbers of monsters in each assault. Iron observed that all these zombie monsters were nothing more than prey to him. The more monsters he defeated and absorbed their energy, the stronger he became. After winning several battles, Iron stood tall, realizing that this experience wasn't as bad as he had thought. At that moment, a massive monster appeared behind him. This creature was unlike anything he had encountered in this place before. It was enormous and far more powerful than the other monsters. Iron was surprised to see a zombie troll in this area, but he felt no fear. Instead, he welcomed the challenge, thinking that this was the kind of battle he had expected in this dangerous place. The scene then shifts to a different location, far from the monster corpse pit. A man is seen crying, saying that he is going to die and begging someone to save him from his fate. It is revealed that the person he is pleading with is none other than the traitorous friend who had betrayed Iround in the past. One of the traitor soldiers addresses this man as Commander and informs him that he has gathered the remaining guards who were present during the recent events. When the guards arrive, the Commander questions them about Shul, the guard who had been overseeing Irun in captivity, and asks what happened to him. One of the guards responds, explaining that Chill was training a slave, but during the session the slave appeared to be asleep. However, suddenly he grabbed Chill with great force. The Commander walks closer to the guard and asks if that's all that happened or if anything unusual took place. The guard replies that the slave stared at Chill intensely. The Commander is surprised by this detail and begins to wonder anxiously if this could mean the presence of killing intent. However, he quickly dismisses the thought, thinking that such a thing would be impossible unless the slave had knowledge of martial arts and internal energy. The Commander then asks where the slave is now. The guard replies that the slave killed himself after the incident. The Commander questions him about the body to confirm if the suicide really happened. The guard hesitates and claims that the slave ran toward the monster corpse disposal area, insisting that his body must have dissolved due to the toxic environment there. The Commander immediately realizes the guard is lying. According to the report, the slave had committed suicide, probably to avoid going into the corpse pit. Grabbing the guard's face, the Commander demands to know if he understands why they are stationed in this place. He tells the guard that their presence here is because a group of useless guards was defeated by a mere slave. He adds that the death of an insignificant person doesn't concern him. What bothers him is that the slave's biosignature vanished without a trace, followed by this fake suicide story with no body found. The Commander then asks the guard if he can give any reason why his life should be spared. The guard, trembling with fear, begs for mercy. However, the Commander shows no mercy and kills the guard on the spot in front of the others. Turning to the remaining guards, the Commander gives them a choice. They can either end up like the dead guard or find the slave's body and bring it back. One of the guards quickly volunteers to search for the body. The Commander orders them to move immediately, and they rush off without hesitation. Once they leave, the Commander tells his aides that the guards will likely die from the toxic gases before they ever find the body. He then adds that he and his group will go to the corpse disposal area themselves after they finish their current mission. Clearly furious, the Commander orders that no one disturb them until all matters are resolved. The scene shifts to 2 weeks later. Iround is standing alone in the corpse and zombie area, having almost consumed all the monsters there. He is holding a strange-looking sphere and remarks that he has now reached the second stage of the demon blood absorption technique called self-blood. He notices an opening in the wall and wonders if toxins are leaking from it. Deciding to check, he throws the sphere toward the opening. Iround explains that the self-blood technique allows him to focus his energy and gain extra benefits. At that moment, the sphere causes a massive explosion in the wall. Standing unmoved by the blast, Iround continues talking about the self-blood technique, which has greatly increased his resistance to toxins. He notes that without reaching this stage, his body would have already dissolved from the poisonous surroundings. He then adds that he will not stay here any longer, as he has completed all the preparations he needed. Moving beyond the broken wall, Iround discovers a new type of monster known as high-tier beasts. He observes that these monsters are extremely dangerous and cannot be fought directly. Among the most feared monsters are dragons. Iround recalls a story about one such dragon, the serpent dragon Orgulus, who escaped from a portal and caused massive chaos and fear among the people. He explains that the dragon was originally dead, but was later resurrected, filled with rage. At that time, many players risked their lives trying to fight it. A miracle happened when they somehow managed to kill it, but this victory led to even more chaos. The dragon's corpse became highly valuable, drawing immense attention. Dragon blood was known as the most powerful alchemical substance, and its bones could be used to craft rare and powerful weapons. However, Orgolas's body was filled with poison, rage, and magic. Simply touching its corpse was enough to melt a person's body. Because of this, the Einhart Guild created the corpse disposal area, where slaves were used to cleanse the dragon's body naturally by absorbing the deadly toxins. Iron places his hand on the skeletal remains of the dead dragon and speaks to himself, vowing to take back everything he lost, his suffering, along with all the rewards he deserves. He then activates the demon blood absorption technique on the dead serpent dragon Orgolas. At this moment, Iron remembers his conversation with King Mu Wang. During their discussion, King Mu Wang asked Iron about dragon eggs. Iron had replied that he planned to absorb those eggs when he returned. Mu Wang had told him that absorbing dragon eggs would help him regain immense power, but he also warned that the process would cause unbearable pain. Back in the present, Iron is already suffering from extreme pain, just as Mu Wang had predicted. He realizes that his mind is beginning to lose focus. Without the training he received from his masters, he would not have survived this long. Despite the pain, a massive surge of energy is flowing through him. His internal energy is increasing rapidly due to the dragon blood energy circles. Even though the dragon has been dead for a long time, its power remains strong. Iron's pain intensifies, and he screams in agony as he notices that his circulatory system is becoming overwhelmed with energy. He realizes that, if he stops absorbing now, the massive energy buildup will turn unstable and kill him. However, if he continues, his body might explode from the excess energy. He finds himself in a life-threatening situation, but he had already anticipated such risks. The only uncertainty was whether this was the best way to handle the situation. Iron then remembers a past conversation with the Demon Queen. He had asked her what would happen if his body couldn't handle so much energy. The Demon Queen had responded that dragons are highly revered even in Gehenna, and that it is nearly impossible for a human body to withstand such power. However, she had added that the solution was simple. The only way was to transform into a dragon. Shocked by her words, Iron had asked if such a transformation was possible. She had replied that, after inheriting the full power of dragons, he should not be surprised by anything anymore. She reminded him that his goal was to reclaim his full strength, and that becoming a dragon was just a step in his journey. Back in the present, Iron reflects on what he learned from his mentor, Virginia, the Demon Queen. The biological knowledge she taught him will help him rebuild his body and change into another form. He firmly believes that nothing is impossible for him, especially after becoming a vessel of chaos and successfully controlling it within himself. However, the pain he is experiencing now is beyond anything anyone could endure. Iron Shah remembers his conversation with King Mu Wang and the Demon Queen. During that discussion, Mu Jae-gyung had suggested that transforming into a dragon might be the best way to survive this situation. In the Silver World, those who possess a dragon's body are given a special title, Dragon Bone Physique. Now, after enduring extreme pain, Iron has finally completed the transformation and has obtained the Dragon Bone Physique. The scene then shifts to the commander and his group. They are facing something so terrifying that they are left in shock. The commander demands to know what happened. It is revealed that they have reached the corpse disposal site, but something is very wrong. There are no corpses left. The commander is stunned, saying that such a thing is impossible. Even if a warrior had exceptionally strong mana, it would be impossible to make all the corpses disappear. His shock grows even more when he realizes that the dragon's corpse, Orgolas, is also missing. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, The commander orders one of his men to report everything to the guild immediately. He tells him to inform them that all corpses and toxins have vanished from the area. The soldier quickly runs to carry out the order. But suddenly, a black sphere flies toward him, hitting his head and causing him to collapse instantly. An explosion erupts at the spot where he fell. Hearing the scream and explosion, the commander and his group rush forward to investigate. They find the soldier badly burned from the blast. The commander demands an explanation, realizing that if these attacks continue, the entire corpse disposal site could be destroyed. At that moment, the commander notices someone pointing at him. The unknown figure addresses him as a coward, accusing him of hiding behind others despite being the current head of engineering for the Volcano Guild. As the figure steps forward, he is revealed to be Irone. He looks directly at the commander and calls him the traitor, Kim Shin-hong. Kim is shocked to see Irone alive and immediately asks how he survived, also questioning if he is really Irone. In response, Irone speaks in a mocking tone, expressing disappointment that Kim failed to recognize him. He suggests that either his appearance has changed slightly, or Kim simply does not want to believe that he is still alive. Hearing this, Kim becomes furious as Irone reveals that he knows Kim betrayed him and became a guild commander. However, Irone taunts him further, saying that despite his new title, he is even more of a coward than before. Enraged, Kim shouts at Irone to be silent and immediately orders his men, the Black Falcon, to eliminate him. The guards follow his command without hesitation. It is revealed that the Black Falcon are highly trained guards assigned to protect the leaders of a guild called Hon. Their skills and experience have been assessed by players to be above level 90. Irone remarks that stealth is their main technique, and their ability to stay invisible makes them a serious threat. However, he states that this does not affect him, as he can sense their positions without needing to see them. He explains that for an ordinary player, detecting an opponent's internal energy would be impossible, but since he has reached the third stage of the demon blood absorption technique called Black Blood, he has gained a powerful new ability. He reveals that he can now create black spheres, which, upon impact, split like shotgun blasts. These spheres immediately start absorbing that internal energy and magical abilities. This is exactly what happened to the soldier who tried to report back to the guild. Without hesitation, Irone begins launching his black spheres at all members of the Black Falcon, wiping them out effortlessly in an instant. Kim watches the entire scene in disbelief, unable to understand how Irone has gained such overwhelming power. He quickly tries to activate his skill display to analyze Irone's abilities, but as soon as he does, he is hit with a sharp and unbearable headache. When he looks at the information on the display, he realizes that it is unreadable, as if it has been encrypted, leaving him frustrated and confused. As Kim glares at Irone tells him that he is well aware Kim will now try to uncover the secret behind his newfound power. He adds that he is certain Kim's curiosity has been triggered, just as always, since Kim never faces an opponent without first gathering all the information he can. This trait, Irone remarks, is fitting for someone of Kim's rank in the guild. Kim stares at him defiantly and asks if he is really that confident. He then declares that he is no longer the same Kim that Irone once knew from their time in the Dank group. Kim draws his sword, points it at Irone, and declares that he is now the raid commander of the Hen Guild. He then accuses Irone of always acting superior and pretending to be right. Kim shouts that Irone has never done anything except what he wanted, just like before, recklessly making decisions without thinking about the consequences for his teammates or partners. Irone remains calm and admits that he still plans to do whatever he pleases. He then throws a black sphere at Kim's massive sword. The moment it makes contact, a powerful explosion forces Kim to step back. Without giving him a chance to recover, Irone throws another black sphere at Kim, saying that even though Kim claims to have changed and become a raid commander, the truth is that he is still the same. He adds that Kim's guild clearly did not train him as well as they should have. Kim quickly reacts by using white shield magic to block the explosion. The shield successfully protects him. Frustrated, Kim screams at Iroun and charges at him with his sword, but Iroun easily dodges the attack. Believing he is finally close to victory, Kim declares that this will be the end for Iroun. However, just as he raises his sword to strike the final blow, Iroun uses another black sphere, causing another explosion that forces Kim to retreat once more. Kim stands in shock, unable to believe what is happening. He demands to know how Iroun has become so powerful. Yelling in frustration, he insists that he was sure Iroun had lost his abilities as a player and demands an explanation. Iroun mockingly responds, saying that a cowardly traitor like Kim does not deserve to know his secret. Kim's anger intensifies and he furiously attacks Iroun with his sword, declaring that this time Iroun will die. But Iroun remains calm and reminds Kim that he has already made it clear Kim's sword and fighting style are useless against him. He then creates another black sphere. In response, Kim tries a new technique called Wall Shield, summoning massive walls of earth that surround Iroun from all sides. Kim carefully analyzes the situation, thinking that Iroun has no means of attack except for his black spheres. He concludes that if he can trap Iroun within the wall shield, he will completely restrict his movements. Acting on this plan, Kim prepares for his next move. Kim thrusts his sword through the walls, trying to strike Iroun. He then uses another technique called Weapons Night, creating a massive explosion that destroys the wall shield and everything inside it, including Iroun. Confident in his victory, Kim believes he has finally eliminated Iroun. He is certain that no one, not even the strongest warriors, could survive such a powerful blast. However, as the smoke begins to clear, Kim's confidence turns to shock. He sees Iroun still standing in the same spot, completely unharmed. Driven to madness, Kim cannot understand how this is possible. In frustration, he draws his second sword, preparing to attack again, but before he can move, Iroun suddenly appears in front of him at blinding speed. Before Kim can react, Iroun grabs his face and slams him into the ground with tremendous force. Kim screams in pain, unable to understand what is happening or how Iroun has become so strong. Iroun looks at Kim and remarks that the answer is quite simple. The scene shifts to a chaotic world as Iroun's voice explains that chaos is a powerful force that grows stronger by consuming entire worlds. It moves beyond time and space, traveling through different dimensions in search of someone worthy to become its vessel. He further reveals that any world taken over by chaos is eventually consumed as energy and disappears forever. Iroun then speaks about himself, explaining that he spent over 100 years training to control this chaos. The scene changes again, showing 3 powerful rulers. King Mu Wang solemnly states that he has done everything he could. The Demon Queen, concerned, asks what will happen if their efforts fail. The Sword King replies that if that happens, there will be nothing more they can do. Meanwhile, Iroun stands before a mysterious screen that informs him that crossing this passage will turn him into the vessel of chaos. He declares that the fate of the entire world depends on what lies beyond this place. Suddenly, King Mu Wang calls out to him and asks for his name. Iroun, surprised, questions why he is being asked for his name after spending 100 years together. Mu Wang laughs, saying that after all this time, he has grown used to Iroun's presence. He adds that Iroun was once known as the ghost who had no heart, no blood, and no tears. Mu Jae-gyung looks at him and remarks that Iroun seems different now, as if he has formed some kind of attachment to them. Iroun responds by saying that his name is Iroun Lee, but something strange happens immediately after. Suddenly, Iroun throws himself forward, screaming in agony. The Demon Queen catches him and calls out to Mu Wang, telling him that Iroun has succeeded. Iroun weakly says that he feels like sleeping. Mu Jae-gyung explains that it is because of the chaos within him. His body is struggling against its power. The Sword King adds that chaos is trying to take control of Iroun's soul and warns that he will suffer from nightmares whenever he sleeps. He cautions that if Iroun gets trapped in one of these nightmares, the chaos inside him will break free again. Iroun replies that he had expected all of this. He then looks at the Sword King and states that this is why he must be killed now. The 3 kings are shocked, unable to respond. King Mu Wang finally speaks, saying that he always knew this moment would come and reveals that it was all part of their plan from the start. Iron mocks him, asking if he really thought he was just a failed student. Standing firm, Iron declares that their real goal is to trap chaos inside a human body and then destroy it completely. He tells them that what they must now focus on is the complete eradication of the chaos entity. The Sword King asks him why. If he knew all of this from the beginning, he still chose to work with them. Iron replies that everyone he had known in the past had betrayed him, leaving him with nothing and making it impossible for him to trust anyone. However, with them, he felt something he had never experienced before: warmth and security. He admits that he no longer cares about revenge against anyone, and that now all he wants is to repay their kindness. As his final request, he asks them to tell him their real names. The three kings remain silent for a moment, visibly moved by his words. Then King Mu Wang is the first to speak, revealing that his true name is Shin. The Sword King follows, saying his name is Sigur. Finally, the Demon Queen reveals her true name, Begina. Iron responds that he has no other wishes and declares that he will die here for his masters, the three kings. Closing his eyes, he prepares for death. However, the Sword King approaches him and tells him that he will not die here. Iron looks confused, unable to understand what is happening. The Demon Queen then tells him that he is not just their disciple, he is also like their child. King Mujaeg Young questions how they could ever bring themselves to kill someone like him with their own hands. Iron realizes that this means they are refusing to complete their mission. The Demon Queen steps closer and explains that the chaos within him will be divided among them, and together they will bear its burden to fully contain it. She adds that the chaos inside him was created as a result of their teachings, which means their power is capable of controlling it. Once this is done, the dimensional links will be severed, allowing Iron to return to the world where he belongs. Iron then asks what will happen to them after that. The Sword King replies that they will be imprisoned somewhere in the world. With this, the three kings bid their final farewell to Iron, instructing him to return to his world and never try to find them again. The scene then shifts back to Iron at the corpse disposal site, where he reflects on the immense power he learned from his masters and tries to understand its limits. He can feel the sheer magnitude of his strength and remembers that he was once close to reaching a high rank. He starts thinking about testing his power against other humans instead of his masters, believing that fighting humans will be much easier. Iron then analyzes Kim's strength. While Kim is not among the top elite, his level is at least 150 or higher. Iron begins to consider gaining even more power, something beyond the demon blood technique. He believes that if he achieves this, no one will be able to defeat him, not even the leaders of the Volcano Guild, those in higher ranks within the Silver faction, or even the strongest warriors from Einhart and Gehenna. Even the elite group known as the One-Handed would stand no chance against him. However, after all of this, Iron comes to a realization. His desire for revenge, which he had held onto for 100 years, no longer feels justified. As he thinks about this, he holds Kim by the face. Kim begins to scream and beg for his life, pleading with Iron to spare him. He continues to cry out, insisting that they had no choice but to betray him. Iron raises his hand and questions what Kim means by saying he had no choice. Kim explains that if they hadn't betrayed him, all of them would have died. He insists that their actions were the only way to save themselves, and even Iron. Hearing this, Iron becomes furious. He asks how Kim can claim to have done it for his sake when he is now the raid commander of the Volcano Guild, living in comfort, while Iron suffered every day. Without hesitation, Iron directs a black sphere toward Kim. Terrified, Kim screams and desperately offers to reveal the whereabouts of the others if Iron spares his life. Iron responds that Kim has already betrayed him once, and now he is ready to betray his own allies as well. Placing his hand back on Kim, Iron tells him that once he dies, the others will hear about it. Pressing harder, he tells Kim that he will go to hell now and wait for the others to join him soon. Without any hesitation, Iron kills Kim. In the next scene, Iron steps out of the site and breaks the chains that had kept the slaves imprisoned. The slaves and guards watch in shock, realizing that the man who just shattered their chains not only emerged from the toxic pit unharmed, but also defeated the Black Falcons and Commander Kim. Iroh looks at these people and reflects on how, if not for his masters, his fate could have been the same as theirs. He understands that if he leaves them here, they will all die, so he decides to take action himself. Suddenly, he starts launching black spheres in their direction, causing panic and fear. Many try to flee, terrified that he is attacking them. Chaos erupts as they cry out in fear of death. However, they soon realize that Iroh isn't trying to kill them. Instead, he is targeting and destroying the marks of slavery that the Volcano Guild had placed on them. One by one, the cursed marks vanish. Finally, Iroh uses his power to destroy the cave where they were held captive. He tells them that they now have two choices, either die under the collapsing rubble or escape and live freely. Their fate is in their own hands. Leaving the cave behind, Iroh moves with ease, flying over the falling rocks. Standing at a high vantage point, he gazes at the vast world before him. He remembers that when he first met his masters, his only goal was to destroy this world. But after witnessing their sacrifices, he now understands what he must do. As he walks forward, he makes a declaration. This world is filled with chaos, and he will consume it and make it his own. The scene shifts to an ongoing investigation at the corpse disposal site. A figure stands among the ruins, remarking that what happened here is completely unbelievable. He states that he reviewed the report they received, but never imagined that its contents would be true. As the scene clears, the figure is revealed to be Chang Wu, the leader of the Red Plum Raid of the Volcano Guild. Chang Wu looks at Kim's headless body and thinks it's no surprise that the Volcano Guild is in chaos. After all, someone like Kim, who was just a beggar with no real background, was made a raid commander. He then asks one of the guild soldiers what information they gathered from interrogating the slaves found at the site. The scene shows the slaves being tortured, but the soldier reports that they remember nothing. He suggests that their memories were likely erased on purpose. Chang notices that even their marks of slavery have been removed. The soldier confirms that they found clear evidence of someone destroying the magical circle that bound the slaves. Chang realizes that whoever did this must be a powerful individual, possibly someone at the level of a master. He then asks if they discovered anything else. The soldier replies that there were no signs of martial arts techniques or any presence of players in the area. Instead, everything points to the involvement of Einhart sorcerers or Gehenna demons. Hearing this, Chang remarks that the situation clearly matches the style of the Gehenna demons. He then states that he understands their objective. Just then, another soldier appears suddenly, using magical abilities to seemingly emerge from nowhere. He informs Chang that they've discovered something alarming. The dragon corpse of Ojugo is missing. Chang considers the possibility that the Gehenna demons are behind this. If they are, then they have many ways to use the dragon without even needing to purify it of its toxins. He immediately orders the soldier to contact headquarters and investigate any Gehenna demon activity from the past year up until the last month. The soldier vanishes just as quickly as he arrived. As Chang processes this information, he wonders why Kim was at the corpse disposal site in the first place. Another soldier answers that Kim had gone there to confirm the death of a particular slave named Iroh. Hearing this, Chang's interest grows. If the slave Kim was checking on is the same Iroh who was once close to obtaining a high rank, then his name should have already become well known. He asks if they found Iroh's body. The soldier responds that after breaking the slave's marks, Iroh entered the toxic pit of the disposal site a month ago. Chang remarks that Iroh is definitely dead. No human body could possibly survive the deadly toxins in that place. He then orders his men to gather every bit of useful information from the site and to hunt down all the escaped slaves. The scene transitions to Dongdaeon in Seoul. Iroh is shown entering a gathering place where people meet for drinks and discussions. While sitting there, he overhears a conversation. Two individuals are talking about the attack on the corpse disposal site. One of them wonders who could be reckless enough to attack such a dangerous place. A woman in the group suggests that many people believe the Gehenna demons are responsible. Another person agrees, saying they were likely after the dragon corpse of Ojugo. Someone else adds that, if that's true, it could mean the end of the truce between the factions. His companion nods, agreeing that such an attack is a direct violation of the Volcano Guild's domain, making further conflict almost certain. Iroh notices that many people are talking about the Volcano Guild, but he isn't surprised. After all, it is one of the 3 biggest guilds in South Korea. He thinks to himself that it won't be long before he eliminates them all. Before that, his priority is to find Master Mu Wang's sect. This is the best way for him to become even stronger than he is now. Since he has no official identity or legal status in the country, this sect is the only place where he can connect with the right people. He heads to a bar, where the bartender asks him what drink he would like. Iroh requests a milk-based drink, but then clarifies that he wants it without milk and with ice. The bartender is confused by the strange request. However, the bar manager, who overhears the conversation, steps in. He tells the bartender to organize the storage room while he personally prepares Iroh's order. Once the bartender leaves, the manager speaks to Iroh privately. He mentions that the code Iroh used is very outdated and hasn't been in use for years. Then he asks if Iroh came through a time gate 5 years ago. Iroh replies that he is from much further back, over 100 years ago. Hearing this, the manager wonders if Iroh is one of the demons. Iroh denies it, adding that labels don't matter in this place. He explains that everything illegal is handled here, including activities involving demons. The manager agrees and then asks why Iroh has come to this place. It is revealed that the manager's name is Jang, and he is the head of Seoul's black market. Iroh tells him that he wants to work with them. Jang asks what kind of job he is capable of doing. Iroh responds that he can handle any task as long as it is in a rank D gate or higher. Jang tells Iroh that he has the perfect job for him. He unlocks a drawer, pulls out several documents and spreads them on the bar for Iroh to choose from. Iroh examines them carefully before selecting one. He notes that the job involves a kidnapping operation. Jang confirms this and explains that the operation works by luring beginners with promises of quick advancement. Once they are trapped, ransoms are demanded from their families. He adds that they specifically target children from wealthy families, meaning Iroh could make a huge amount of money from this job. The payout is 200 million won, but Jang will take a 30% cut. Iroh picks up the documents and questions Jang about the nature of this unethical job. Jang immediately becomes tense. He reaches under the bar, grabs a hidden gun, and asks Iroh if he has a problem with the job or if he actually came to work. Pointing the gun at Iroh, Jang explains that sometimes foolish people come here, talking about justice and trying to ruin the place. He warns that instead of thinking about such ideals, Iroh should consider the many people who rely on this place for their survival. If their source of income is cut off, they will turn against him. Seeing the gun aimed at him and Jang's finger on the trigger, Iroh quickly reassures him. He explains that he was only impressed by the job, not questioning it. He then asks Jang to calm the men sitting behind him, as he can sense their growing hostility. Jang smiles, satisfied with Iroh's response. He admits that he had noticed the men behind him, and this confirms his trust in Iroh for the job. Handing Iroh a phone, Jang tells him that he will contact him soon to set a date for the operation and advises him to be ready. He then asks why Iroh hasn't ordered anything to drink while in the bar, pointing out that this place isn't just an ordinary establishment. Iroh responds that he prefers not to drink, as he wants to avoid unnecessary trouble. Jang jokingly asks if it's because Iroh is driving and doesn't want to drink before that. Iroh replies that his reason is different. He explains that if he were to drink and fall asleep in this place, everyone in the bar would die, because the chaos within him might awaken again. Jang smiles, saying he was only teasing, and assures Iroh that he isn't required to drink anything. He is free to do as he pleases. However, Iroh states that he won't be staying long and decides to leave. As he walks out, Jang watches him go, thinking mockingly that Iroh is just a young man burdened by his past and illusions. He doubts that someone like Iroh will survive for long in this kind of work. The scene shifts to another location in Namyangju, where a large building stands near a rank D gate. 2 sentries are stationed outside, guarding the entrance. A group of young players arrives in front of the building. One of them calls out to a player named Cheol, who greets them warmly. He introduces one of the boys as Hong and presents his teammates as the beginner players who joined them that day. Cheol asks everyone to take good care of the newcomers, whom he considers like younger siblings. Cheol then asks Hong how he feels about participating in his first field mission. Hong laughs nervously and admits that he is feeling a little anxious. Cheol reassures him, explaining that his team has been working together for 3 years and that a rank D gate isn't too difficult for them. He then points to 2 other participants in the operation, explaining that they are freelance mercenaries, independent fighters who take on jobs for money. Among them is Iroun. Hearing that mercenaries will be joining them, the young players look uneasy. Cheol notices their concern and tries to calm them down, explaining that these mercenaries are highly skilled professionals in martial arts and have worked with him for 3 years. He reassures Hong once more and asks the team to look after him and the other new players. As Iroun silently observes the situation, he understands why the beginners feel uneasy around mercenaries. Mercenaries have a reputation for being ruthless, often compared to the demons of Gehenna. He realizes that the manager introduced him as a freelance mercenary for this very reason. However, something unusual catches Iroun's attention. Among the young players, he notices a girl who does not seem nervous or surprised by the presence of mercenaries. Unlike the others, she remains calm and composed. He looks at her carefully, thinking that he might have finally found what he has been searching for in this place. The scene transitions to the training camp at night, where the beginner players are gathered around a campfire. Hong sits beside Cheol and thanks him for helping him significantly improve his experience level. Cheol then asks Hong how he found the bus ride that brought them to the site. Instead of answering directly, Hong asks if he and his teammates will be allowed to hunt independently the next day. Hong remembers that Cheol told them hunting on their own would help them gain real experience. Cheol reassures them, explaining that he has carefully planned everything and chosen a location where they can hunt safely without facing any real danger. He tells Hong that this will be their first real adventure and encourages him to get a good night's rest. Hong feels happy and trusts Cheol completely. After Hong and his teammates enter their tent to sleep, Cheol laughs with his team, commenting that he wants the beginners to keep believing in his words. Meanwhile, Iroun sits alone by another fire. The girl who didn't seem afraid earlier approaches him and asks if she can sit with him. Since he doesn't respond, she moves closer and sits beside him. She then asks if he is truly one of the mercenaries, following up with another question about his martial arts level, noting that he didn't take part in the hunting activity earlier that day. Iroun replies sarcastically, saying it's rude to ask a martial artist about their rank. The girl, startled, quickly apologizes, explaining that she didn't know because she's a beginner. Iroun observes her carefully and notices something unusual. She doesn't even try to pretend to be embarrassed, which tells him something about her personality. She then asks if she can at least know his name. Iroun pauses for a moment, looking at her, before finally answering that his name is Iroun. The girl, Una, thinks his name sounds familiar but can't remember why. At that moment, her friend calls out to her, addressing her as Una, and reminds her that it's her turn to take watch before she can rest. Una stands up to leave, but stops briefly, telling Iroun that she enjoyed talking to him, even if it was only for a short time. Before entering her tent, she glances back at him one last time, thinking that he seems like a good person, but also feeling a strange, unexplainable unease in his presence. The next morning, the team begins their hunting operation. Cheol is shown killing a monster with his sword. One of his teammates informs him that time is running out and that the gate is about to close. Cheol quickly calls out to Hong, instructing him and his group to leave immediately. If they don't, they will have to stay and face the boss monster. Hong protests, asking if they can go with Cheol to fight the boss. He points out that Cheol is strong enough to defeat it. Cheol agrees that this is true, but expresses concern that Hong might get hurt. Hong insists with strong determination that he is a player now, and if he keeps running away from challenges just because he is afraid of getting hurt, he will never become stronger. He pleads with Chell not to worry, assuring him that he is fully prepared to fight alongside him. Chell smirks slightly, thinking to himself that Hong and his team have fallen right into his trap. He praises Hong for having the true spirit of a player and gives him the task of handling the surrounding monsters. Excited, Hong draws his sword and leads his team toward the monsters. Suddenly, a notification appears about the gate closing. The gate is shown shutting with the beginners still inside. Hong quickly realizes that he is no match for the monster in front of him. The creature easily disarms him, sending his sword flying. Hong calls out to Chell for help, but Chell replies that he is busy fighting the ghouls and that Hong must handle the monster on his own. Hong finds himself in serious danger as the monster turns out to be much stronger and larger than he expected. It almost finishes him off. Desperate, Hong pulls out a magical scroll from his pocket, admitting to himself that he never thought he would actually need to use it. The scroll is revealed to release a powerful firebolt. The firebolt shoots out from the scroll, striking the monster and killing it instantly. Hong laughs in relief and joy at his victory. Chell approaches him, apologizing for not being able to help because of the ghoul attack. He then comments on Hong's luck in having such a powerful scroll. Hong explains that his father gave him the scroll and told him to use it only in extremely dangerous situations because it is a one-time use item. Chell remarks that this means Hong doesn't have any more scrolls left. Hong confirms this, adding that such scrolls are also very expensive. Chell responds by saying that this is good. Then he pulls out another magical scroll and shows it to Hong, piquing his curiosity. Suddenly, Chell utters the word bind, activating the scroll. Magical ropes shoot out, completely tying up Hong. Hong falls to the ground in shock, asking Chell why he is doing this. Looking around, he realizes that all his teammates have been restrained in the same way. Chell stands with a smug grin alongside his team, thanking Hong for walking straight into their trap. Hong initially thinks Chell is joking and asks him to stop and set them free. However, Chell suddenly slaps him hard across the face, mocking him for being so naive. He questions whether Hong's foolishness comes from being part of a wealthy family and sarcastically asks if he still thinks this is all just a joke. Fear starts creeping into Hong as Chell places his sword close to his ear, threatening to cut it off to make him understand the seriousness of the situation. At that moment, Una suddenly launches an attack, striking one of Chell's teammates with her sword before charging straight toward him. Chell is caught off guard by her sudden assault but manages to block her strike with his own sword. Shocked, he demands to know how she managed to break free from the magical bindings. Una responds sarcastically, saying that she did exactly what he should have expected, then activates her sword aura skill. Chell is visibly shocked to see her using this ability and quickly engages her in combat. As they clash, he realizes that she is a highly skilled martial artist. This explains why the binding spell didn't work on her, though he remains confused since his information suggested that she was just a beginner player. Una counters by questioning whether Chell is truly a second-tier fighter within rank D, or if he is secretly a first-tier fighter in rank C. Suddenly, another voice orders Chell to step back, stating that a martial arts expert should fight someone of her level. The speaker is revealed to be the leader of the kidnapping group, the same man Chell had previously introduced as a mercenary alongside Irun. The leader observes Una's sword aura and acknowledges that she is among the elite, just like himself. However, he then challenges her, asking whether she truly believes she can defeat all of them alone. Una quickly scans her surroundings and realizes that the entire gang has surrounded her. She notices that, aside from Cheol, there are 3 rank C fighters and a martial arts expert among them. Understanding that she cannot take them all on by herself, she remains cautious. The leader warns Una that if she doesn't make the first move, he will. Without hesitation, he launches an attack, but she skillfully defends against his strikes. He mocks her, asking if all she can do is defend, but she counters confidently, stating that she is not as weak as he assumes. She then surprises him with an offensive maneuver that showcases her high-level skills. During the fight, one of the gang members attempts to strike her from behind, but she senses him just in time and quickly dodges the attack. However, shortly after, 3 more gang members converge on her at the same time, making the battle even more difficult. Meanwhile, Chell speaks to Irone, pointing out that he hasn't seen him participate in the hunt and questioning what he has been doing. He then instructs Irone to capture Una if he wants to earn his payment. Without responding, Irone calmly moves toward Una, who is still struggling against 3 opponents. As Una notices Irone approaching, a deep sense of unease washes over her. Ever since she first saw him the day before, she has felt a strange and overwhelming sensation whenever he is near. Even when their eyes meet, an inexplicable fear grips her, though she cannot understand why. She silently wonders who this man truly is and what secrets he might be hiding. As Irone moves closer, that strange and unexplainable feeling grows stronger within her. She keeps insisting to herself that it cannot possibly be him. At that moment, Aaron stands silently, observing Una while recalling memories of the chaotic world he once shared with the Demon King. In that past world, the Demon King had revealed to Aaron that he was the leader of the Divine Demon sect. Aaron had been surprised, stating that while he knew of the Demon sect, he had never heard of a Divine Demon sect. The Demon King then explained that the Divine Demon sect was the true origin from which the Demon sect had emerged. Aaron had expressed his understanding that the Demon sect opposed all the powers in the world and sought to destroy everything. In response, the Demon King had asked if Aaron truly believed that his master fit such a description. Aaron had quickly clarified that he hadn't meant it that way. With a sigh, the Demon King had revealed that after he left Earth, the Murim Alliance spread false rumors about them. Smiling mockingly, he had called the Murim Alliance naive and pitiful, then warned Aaron to be cautious of them upon his return. Back in the present, Aaron now stands before Una. Though others may not recognize his true identity, she is certain that her eyes are not deceiving her. She gazes at him intensely, convinced that the energy in his eyes is unmistakably demonic. Aaron's memories then drift further back to his time as a captive among slaves. He remembers a man telling him that members of the demon sect were still secretly active in the black market, claiming to rescue abductees. The man had elaborated, revealing that he knew this because he had once worked in human trafficking there himself. The scene returned to the present, where Irone was deep in thought. He had never imagined that such small and insignificant remarks from the past could hold any meaning now. At that moment, a mercenary noticed Irone standing idly and prepared to attack Una. However, Irone startled him by coldly telling him to stay silent, commenting that his breath smelled terrible and advising him never to speak again. Una stood there, confused, unable to understand what was happening between them. The mercenary then turned to Cheol, asking why Irone was acting this way. Cheol replied that he had no idea, explaining that Irone had been brought from the black market to handle situations if things got out of control. The mercenary scoffed, saying he wouldn't mind killing Irone right then and there. He drew his sword, ready to attack, but to his shock, his weapon suddenly shattered into pieces. He couldn't understand how such a strong sword had broken so easily. Irone had destroyed it using his black spheres, effortlessly demonstrating that his power was far beyond anything the mercenary could match. Seeing this, someone suggested attacking Irone all at once, while another proposed killing him immediately before he could strike again. The group quickly gathered to eliminate him. But Irone remained calm and informed them that the gate was sealed, meaning he could kill them all without any consequences. One mercenary, realizing the danger, tried to plead for mercy, but Irone unleashed his black spheres before he could finish his words, declaring that it was already too late. The spheres struck every mercenary's head without exception. As the last mercenary took his final breath, he realized that Irone must hold a very high rank, far beyond what they had assumed. Soon after, their bodies exploded just like the ones before them. Once they were all dead, Irone retrieved his black spheres and sealed them within his hand. He then turned his gaze toward Cheol, who had stayed at a distance the entire time, never joining the fight. Cheol, now terrified, began to beg for his life. Iron looked at him with indifference and noted that Cheol was still too afraid to even meet his eyes. At that moment, Una appeared from behind Cheol. Without hesitation, she swung her sword in a single precise motion, severing his head from his body. After finishing him off, she stepped forward and stood before Iron. Iron asked if it was now her turn to try and eliminate him. Ona replied that it was impossible because she wasn't reckless enough to attack someone she knew could easily defeat her. Iron glanced at Cheol's corpse and questioned why she wouldn't want to kill him since he was part of the same group. She explained that after he had already wiped out all of them, how could he still claim to be on their side? She added that he must have a reason behind his actions, and she was willing to help him achieve it, no matter what it was. Ona then asked if he could spare her life. In response, Irun asked what she would do if he said he intended to take it. She replied that if that were his intention, he would have already killed her. Irun acknowledged her intelligence. At that moment, a massive monster appeared behind him. Seeing it, Irun asked if it was the leader of the gate. Then, reminding Ona of her offer to help him, he instructed her to prove it by eliminating the monster so they could leave. Without hesitation, Ona attacked the giant monster and successfully defeated it. The scene then shifted to Gate D, at the same location where Hong and his group, including Shoal, had entered. This time, they were emerging from the gate after narrowly escaping an attempted abduction. Despite their relief at escaping, Hong felt anger toward Shoal for his despicable actions. All of them bowed to Ona, expressing their gratitude for saving them from the gang. Hong then asked her why she had hidden her identity as a warrior and joined a beginner team. At that moment, a strange man wearing a suit and dark glasses arrived. Ona told Hong that this man would explain everything to him. The man spoke to Hong, promising to clarify everything and also take him home. He then invited Hong to get into the car with him. Hong agreed and got into the car, which then drove away. Afterward, Ona approached Arun and asked how she could assist him. He replied that he had only one question. To which faction did she belong? The Divine faction or the Blood faction? Hearing this, Ona's expression changed to one of anxiety and nervousness as she tried to act like she had no idea what he was talking about. Iron directly asked Ona if she had any connection to the demon sect and assured her that he would not report her to the Murim Alliance. In that instant, Ona's attitude toward Iron changed. She dropped the act of confusion and instead asked if he himself was a member of the sect. Noticing her sudden change in behavior, Iron questioned why her attitude had shifted and what she would do if he really was a sect member. However, Ona insisted on getting an answer and repeated her question. Iron still did not respond directly. Instead, he reminded her that he was the one who started the questioning. Suddenly, 6 men in suits and dark glasses appeared, surrounding Iron and pointing their swords at his neck. Yet Iron remained completely unfazed. Calmly using his power, he warned Ona that this would be his final question. To which faction did she belong? The Divine faction or the Blood faction? The men around Ona felt an overwhelming pressure from Irun's immense power. One of them wondered how a being as powerful as Irun could even exist on Earth. The tension grew even stronger when Ona finally answered. She declared that she belonged to the Blood faction. She then ordered the men to lower their swords, adding that Irun was her savior. The group hesitated, arguing that Irun now knew about their existence. Ona reassured them that if Irun wanted to kill them, he could have easily done so already. Hearing this, the group complied and stepped back. Ona then told Irun that she had answered his question and now expected him to answer hers. Irun simply responded that they could now conclude that he was indeed a member. Following this, Ona asked Irun for details on how she could assist him, specifically reminding him of her promise to help with whatever he needed. She also inquired whether he preferred to share his plan now, or if he wanted her to accompany him in carrying it out. Irun replied that they would execute it together. In the next scene, Irun and Ona are inside a limousine. Ona starts adjusting her clothes and apologizes to Irun, explaining that the heat is unbearable. To Irun's surprise, she removes a mask from her face, revealing that she had been in disguise all along. As she lets her hair down, Irone finally sees her real face and finds her incredibly beautiful. Ona thanks him for the compliment and then asks whether his face is real or just as deceptive as hers. He assures her that it is his true face, though it has changed slightly from what it used to be. She also asks if his name is real, and he confirms that it is. When she attempts to ask another question, Irone interrupts, stating that it is now his turn to ask questions. He begins by questioning whether Hong's group is unaware of her true identity, pointing out that she had lied about returning the players to their homes. He also mentions that the mask she wears costs millions, just like the limousine they are riding in, which suggests that she has no financial struggles. He then suggests that this could mean she is secretly recruiting people to become her followers. Ona, with tears in her eyes, explains that her plan was indeed to recruit and connect with people, but things became complicated due to Shoal's actions. Irone then asks if her wealth comes from the families of rich players, questioning whether this is the true source of her riches. Ona clarifies that the money they receive is considered gifts and that they do not demand large sums. She emphasizes that the trainee players willingly contribute because they have specific goals they want to achieve. Irone understands and finishes her sentence, stating that their goal is to form a guild. Ona confirms this, explaining that they help players create guilds under the condition that they join their sect, making it a mutually beneficial arrangement. Irone considers how players who train and improve their skills independently often dream of joining strong guilds. Ona then asks Irone about the martial arts techniques he used at the gate. Irone refuses to answer directly, objecting to her questioning him about his combat skills. Ona justifies her question by reminding him that she had revealed an important secret to him, so she deserves to know this small detail in return. Irone replies that he cannot use those techniques at the moment, which leaves Ona surprised. She then asks if he means that he defeated a martial arts expert without using any of those skills. Irone explains that his way of fighting is similar to shooting bullets and questions whether that can even be considered martial arts. He then takes his turn to ask a question, inquiring about her involvement in the black market. Ona responds that they take on such missions to help their followers gain experience. Irone questions whether helping their followers includes kidnapping and killing people. Ona, angered by the accusation, strongly denies it. She explains that they only target red players or those with bad reputations, unlike other groups. Irone comments that she might also be recruiting followers, and Ona confirms it. Irone then reflects on Ona's actions and determination, realizing that she and her group might not be as bad as Mr. Muang claimed. They seem different from the evil Hu Mountain Guild. Ona tells him she has one last question, asking if he killed the original Aeron and took over his body. At that moment, Ona suddenly feels completely unable to move. She looks at Irone and realizes that he is using his abilities without even lifting a finger. She understands that she is under his control and acknowledges that he has done it masterfully, just as she had expected. She also notices how similar he is to her. After a short while, Ona regains control of herself and starts breathing heavily. She then asks Irone if what he did was just a warning. At that moment, the limousine comes to a stop. Irone tells her that they have arrived and asks her to lead the way to their destination. Their destination turns out to be the headquarters of a massive corporation called Kang Group. This company is led by Kang Chul, a highly influential man in Korea and across Asia. Irone stands in front of the enormous building and finds it hard to believe that the Kang Group headquarters also serves as the sect's base. Ona approaches him from behind and asks if he plans to enter the building. Instead of answering directly, Irone asks her if she would let him leave if he decided not to enter. Ona responds that he is free to leave if he wishes. Irone counters by saying that he might leave, but she would keep chasing him, forcing him to run not only from Hu Mountain but also from the sect itself. Ona looks at him with deep confusion, wondering if his words mean that he is truly the real Irone and not just someone in his body. Irone then asks Ona whether the people inside would come after him if he kidnapped her now. Ona urges him not to joke about such things, explaining that bringing him here was already a huge risk for her. Suddenly, Kang steps out of the building, shouting at Iroh and approaching him in anger. He accuses Iroh of putting his granddaughter's life in danger. Without hesitation, Kang charges straight at Iroh, telling him to prepare for his end. Ona tries to stop Kang, but he is too furious to listen. She screams, realizing that it is too late to do anything. To Kang surprise, Irun easily blocks his attack and stops him. Iroh then asks if this is how the sect treats those who try to help them. The outro for a Manhwa recap YouTube channel. That's it for today's recap. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to hit that like button and drop a comment about your favorite part. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next thrilling episode. More epic recaps are coming your way, so stay tuned. See you in the next video.